Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 276 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on September 23rd, 2025. How are all you wonderful folks doing? I hope you're doing well. We're going to talk about the AK pattern rifle today, the Dead Air Wolverine, human risk, and what that means. Hope you enjoy. Also, the first shooting trials of the MCX heat mitigation system have taken place. Go to the Small Arms technical data page on our website to read some tips and notes we added to that page regarding that. Be safe and have fun. And some advice that I would give, be careful who you trust when it comes to system performance. Always ask for data and engineering analysis, okay, no matter what it is. If they can't give you both, go somewhere else. That's my advice. It's what I've told all my clients for the past 2 decades. Okay, I'm telling you the same thing. Okay, so there's a lot to go through today, so let's get on with the show. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. We're certainly glad to have you. We're going to talk about silencers and physics. It's going to be really cool. There are always timestamps in the episode description for you to skip to wherever you would like. If you want to hang around with me a little longer, I'm going to quickly speak to you about the companies who make this podcast possible. The first one is Legion Athletics. Nothing you do, exercise, sports, or anything is worth doing without consistency. You have to do things all the time if you want to be good at them. Legion Athletics can help you with that. They have whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout, vitamins, minerals, creatine, all kinds of stuff. Do they have everything you need? Well, probably not, but they do have a lot of it. Visit legionathletics.com. There's a link in the show notes. When you use the code word PewScience at checkout, you get buy one, get one 50% off of your entire shopping cart on your first order. And then if you keep using the PewScience code when you buy stuff, you'll get a net 20% cash back on everything you buy there, which is great. Okay, it helps the podcast, helps the lab, and helps you. Okay, good stuff. Get strong. It's important. The podcast is also brought to you by Silencer Shop. That's right. They've done a lot, not only for consumers, but the industry as well. They've done a lot for a lot of dealers, large and small, nationwide. If you are a new dealer looking to get started in the space and maybe you can't hold a lot of inventory, maybe you want to maintain low overhead, Silencer Shop might be for you. Okay, use their kiosk, cut down on your errors, your paperwork errors, and make your silencer purchasing process simple. Okay, it is just you and your silencer with no drama. Silencer ownership simplified. Also, this podcast is brought to you by Top Gun Range out of Houston. They're a Silencer Shop dealer, actually, which is pretty cool. They're worth checking out. If you're on a business trip in Houston and you don't go shoot guns, I pity you. No, really, though. A 15-lane indoor shooting range. You can actually rent firearms there, but you can actually rent machine guns, too, and silencers. That's right. You can rent silencers. Isn't that cool? Shoot the silencer before you buy it. Try before you buy. Kyle and his crew at Top Gun Range will educate you. They use PewScience data actually to help inform their customer base, which is really smart, really advised, and really awesome. Very transparent to the consumer. And they're an example of a dealer who does that because why wouldn't you? Makes your job easy. What, you want to sell something that performs well or that doesn't perform well? Takes the pressure off of the dealer, right? They can just refer to silencer data and analysis from a third party. It's important. Check out topgunrange.com inventory on their website. Okay, you can see what you want to shoot before you go. Give Kyle and his crew a call. Say, hey, I'm going to be in town. I want to shoot XYZ. Do you have it ready? They'll be like, come on in, brother or sister. You know what I'm saying? Topgunrange.com. Check them out. Capital Armory also sponsors this podcast. Right now, silencers are in pretty high demand. I know there's some folks waiting for the tax stamp to be reduced. That's fine. Regardless, you're going to need a lot of sources on where to procure these items. It's about to be crazy. Capital Armory can help you with that. They have a pretty unique twist. You can browse their inventory online, and you can sitting on your couch, whatever, maybe having a beer. And you can also purchase that silencer online from them and have it delivered to your house. You don't have to get off the couch, which is cool. If you live in one of the 42 states where silencers are legal, that is an option for you with Capital Armory, okay? Silencer shipped directly to your door. Finally, this podcast is brought to you by the PewScience Laboratory. I'm the technical director of the lab. In the interest of public education, the lab has chosen to sponsor this podcast. and run a public research effort with the goal of pushing the silencer industry forward one test at a time. Please visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It is the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before the combustion takes place all the way till all the combustion is gone and all the mechanical operation has ceased. You ever shot an AK suppressed? You know how loud the action is? Well, the suppression rating actually takes that into account. Yep, it's the only metric that does. Cool, right? We think it's cool. It's all in the Silencer Sound Standard, 7 sections, the most in-depth and accurate silencer data and analysis in the world. All available to the public 24/7 at pewscience.com. You can support this podcast, our lab, all the public testing we do by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. It would be awesome if you did. It would help. But if you don't want to, you can also do a one-time donation on the review page or podcast page. Every little bit helps. And you know what? If you don't want to give any money, that's, of course, also cool. Something that's free, doesn't cost you anything, is to rate the podcast highly on the iTunes or the Spotify or the YouTube or whatever you listen to your podcast. Just give us a solid, and maybe you recommend it to your friends. Maybe you tell other people about this stuff and let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. All right. Topic 1. I got 2 topics for you today. We're going to split them up a little bit. I'm tell you how we're going to do them. Topic 1, we're going to talk about the Public Research Supplement 6200, the 200th article in the Standard. We last week we published that. It presents unsuppressed AK data and tells you all about the hosts. And then topic 2, we're going to talk about the Wolverine. Fair? Because there's like 3 tests in that freaking topic. It's crazy. So much data for you. Let's move into topic 1 at a time of 6 minutes and 54 seconds. Excellent. One moment, please. Okay, man, there's so much to go through. It's really neat. So topic 1, Public Research Supplement 6200, Unsuppressed 7.62x39 AK pattern rifles as silencer test hosts. We published this last week. This was the Zastava ZPAPM70, the Arsenal SAM7R, and the Arsenal SAM7C. So this is the technical discussion of this new host platform, as it were, and there's 3 of them, but we're going to talk through, okay? So we added 7.62x39 millimeter combustion to the research. Another way to do something like this would have been to start with supersonic 300 blackout, right? It would have been similar. And we probably would have done it from a bolt gun to start because, we've done some of that testing already behind the scenes that we haven't published. But I think that 7.62x39 research, that fork, it really kills multiple birds with one stone. And the AK platform next to the AR is probably one of the most popular rifle platforms in the history of the world, I'd say. And that's not hyperbole. So I think covering both 5.56 AR and 7.62 AK is smart. That's an opinion that we have. And also, this gives us a piston system for the Standard, though I do acknowledge it's not a piston system that a lot of piston folks want. This is a long stroke piston system in a very antiquated platform. Okay, I get that, but it is a piston system nonetheless. We do have the AR-18, but anyway, we don't want to get off track. Despite some of this that you may or may not agree with or care about, there is an entire class of silencers dedicated to the AK platform. So this may not be a huge research fork, but it will be quite the proving ground, especially for high flow rate 7.62 silencers. We're going to get to that. So in this public supplement, we show unsuppressed combustion phenomena, which I think is important to understand. For those of you new to silencers or maybe even new to guns, and I know there's some of you, this is going to be really important to really get, okay? And for some of you folks that have been around a little while, it might be a good refresher for you. So, don't be afraid to learn new stuff. Even we learned some stuff during this research too, so that's cool. If you pull up the research supplement, and the free version and the member versions are identical with this one. This is a public article for everybody. It's for the good of the Standard, has nothing to do with products. It's more to do with your knowledge and the industry's knowledge. Okay, that's why we publish things. Make no mistake. In the free version of the article, just pull it up, 6200. It's the 200th article, which is a pretty big deal. It's pretty awesome. Go ahead and when you open the article, I know there's a lot of words. That can be scary. That's okay. Scroll all the way down to figure 2A. It's going to be the first picture. Okay, it's going to have some squiggly lines. It's going to be a data plot, all right? This figure 2A shows muzzle blast in pressure space in early time from 3 AK systems simultaneously overlaid synced in time. Okay? So before we get into some of the complexities, I do want to turn your attention to the largest peak pressures in the figure. You see 3, correct? I just want to make sure you can see 3. There's a black, a blue, and a red. Okay. All of these pressures in the main muzzle blast feature there, they're all peaking somewhere between 5,000 to 6,000 pascals. Okay, so between 5 to 6 kPa. Okay, they're around 168.3 to 168.5 dB, decibels. All right, so the spread there between the peaks of these 3 muzzle blast traces is around 0.2 dB. Okay, you would see that only 0.2 of a dB variation in a gross sense. Okay, but you can see that it's quite a bit, still quite a bit different in pressure. We're talking about hundreds of pascals of difference, right? Remember, and go look at section 2 of the Silencer Sound Standard on the website if you need a refresher. Decibels, as we use them, are a logarithmic expression of pascals. Okay, so you see the peaks really high up there, and you almost see a right triangular shape forming. Yeah, don't you? And then the pressure sort of goes negative for a bit after that. So you go to peak, whoa, you're really, really loud. And then you kind of come down, it's not really a straight line, but it looks like a straight line on this figure. And you come down diagonally there, kind of like a triangle. You form that triangle, and then you go negative for a bit. And then later in time, you start to come up around 0 later in time, right? What you're seeing here in this figure is an extremely short duration blast load, and specifically it is a shock load, and it's almost a perfect shock load actually. And there's multiple nested shocks, but they're coalescing to form the main load there. And when you zoom in like this and you see a load like this, you can see that you can actually compare the loads from each of the 3 guns to each other fairly well, because they're all of very similar shape. And that is why when you look at the peak pressure of each waveform, or the peak dB, those peaks actually do mean something. They mean a lot, because they're characterizing the entire waveform really. For a set duration, those peaks are telling you almost everything in a way, because they are really only a few features of concern in this whole thing. You see that with less complexity, you need less features to characterize something. The more complex a system is, the more features you need to describe it. It applies not only to blast overpressure waveforms, but life, figuratively and literally. Okay. So in this case, peak dB can tell you quite a bit, and that's good to know. But when you start to look at multiple events, it starts to get more tricky, like I'm saying, and you're going to see the trickiness start right here. You can even start to see it in this figure, even in this unsuppressed plot. Look at the pressure features before the big peak. Look down there earlier in time. You might have missed it if you're not careful. Below 1,000 pascals, below 1 kPa, down around 152 or 153 dB or so, you have blast load leaking around the projectile. Oh my goodness. The SAMI ammunition we are using for testing, for consistency from Hornady, is likely a bit undersized for the rifling of the AK chambers and barrels, which are not regulated by SAMI. They're regulated by a different organization. And the freebore distance, which is the distance that the bullet has to travel to get fully engaged in the rifling, is combining with the dimensional variance to cause a certain phenomenon to happen. We call this an obturation delay. Okay, obturation, I know it sounds like a fancy word, but it's okay, because I'm going to teach it to you, and you're going to end up learning. You're going to use this in later conversation, I promise. And you're going to, if you're a guy, maybe you at the bar, and you're going to talk to a beautiful woman about it, you're going to say obturation. She's going to lose her mind, bro. When you obturate something, you fill up a hole with a pretty good seal. Okay, you're actually stopping flow. That is one way to think about it. Okay, just in a gross sense. And you can look up the word if you like. In weapons effects and weapon mechanics, those of you who work in that field, doesn't have to be small arms. Actually, typically, small arms is one thing. But we talk about this in other type of weapon fields. You may have heard the term obturator. Yeah. Say you're pushing a projectile through a barrel, a gun barrel, and you need to seal the area behind the projectile so you can push on it and transfer momentum from whatever is doing the pushing to the object being pushed. You would use an obturator to do that. Yeah, so like maybe a hockey puck or something behind the projectile would be a simple obturator. I'm joking, but I'm actually not joking. I've used a hockey puck before. You might even have a sabot around the projectile. That's another word for you. So an obturator pushing the projectile and a sabot payload through the barrel. Maybe then the payload gets pushed out. The projectile and the sabot payload get pushed out of the barrel. And the projectile is pretty centered because of the use of the sabot, and then the sabot falls away, kind of like petals on a flower, and the beautiful projectile emerges, and it continues on its path to terminal effect. Okay. The obturator played a key role in that process to take your projectile from its home to terminal effect. Okay, that's what we would do in weaponeering. So what if you wanted to push on your projectile, but you didn't have a good seal? You would have obturation delay. You would have momentum transfer delay. And if you are pushing with expanding combustion gases, those gases could be forced around the projectile. And in our case, we think that's what's happening with these AK systems. Typically, with supersonic cartridges, any precursor that is formed by blow-by is fairly nested with the main blast. You're going to have a little bit of leakage in all cases, right? Probably with most of these small arms. It's usually only in the subsonic cartridge situations where you see leakage mixed with the barrel air column pressurization, and you see that defined precursor unsuppressed. For example, we saw that with 300 blackout subsonic bolt gun stuff. We saw that with MP5 subsonic stuff. We saw that with 22 rimfire subsonic bolt gun stuff, things like that. But with 308 and 556, on the weapons that we have tested, your precursors are all nested due to supersonic projectile stuff, right? We've talked about this ad nauseum. And it's in the Saucer Sound Standard too. If you need to refresh your memory, it's in the early section. I think it's in section 2. But with the AK, we again see precursors. Now, it's very interesting. Really dug into the literature, actually. Made double and triple sure because we wanted to make sure that we didn't misspeak. We have found through comprehensive literature review that the timing and shape of what we were seeing with and all of the factors with the hosts and ammunition, this phenomenon that we are presenting to you is very consistent with obturation delay, and the AK barrel and chamber sizes matched with the SAM ammo would produce this that you see in the measured tests. That is our we are fairly confident in that conclusion. Okay, one moment. And I wanted to go through this because who else would tell you? Who else would tell you? So we're telling you. That's what you're looking at. What, you want to know how loud a gunshot is? Well, I'm not going to just tell you how loud it is. I'm going to tell you why it's loud, what it's doing, what you're measuring, what the physics are. Because the more you know, the more powerful you become. And why would we not want to transfer that power to everybody? It's the point of Pew Science. So now you understand obturation delay and AK precursor loads. You actually understand more about small arms than I'm probably sure 99.9% of the human population, which makes you awesome. The next thing to look at in this plot would be barrel length variation. And so there are obvious differences in the AK chambers and barrels between Bulgarian and Yugoslavian pattern guns. And there is also a difference between a 16.3-inch barrel AK, There's obviously a difference between a 16.3-inch barrel AK and a 12.6 inch barrel AK. Just like we saw in 5.56 testing with the Mark 18, right? So I want you to do, look in this plot, look at the red curve here, and you see the 12.6 inch Arsenal has another pretty intense pressure pulse after negative phase, doesn't it, later in time? What is that? That's secondary blast from the short barrel, just like we saw in the Mark 18. Oh my God, is there commonality between the US system and the Russian system? Different geography, different cultures united by physics. Now scroll down to the impulse plot in figure 2b. It gets cool. Check this out. Now you see how that manifests. You can see the impulse from the two 16-inch barrel guns is very similar. The blue and the black line are very similar, which is refreshing to see at the peak, even with the precursor shocks additive, which is important. Don't think we forgot. Then you see the primary blast from the 12.6-inch barrel add quite a bit of impulse. Look at that. Again, much of the same phenomenon we saw in the Mark 18, isn't it? I mean, not in magnitude, but in gross phenomenology. That should comfort you. This is a bare muzzle. Remember that. This is not, there's no flash hider physics happening. There's no muzzle brake physics. This is bare muzzle. This is bare muzzle, gun barrel combustion, propagation, measured and presented to you publicly for free for those keeping score. Good. It's good because this is consistent with the other research that was happening like 100 articles ago or more. You understand? This is important. It's peer-reviewed. Okay, cool. One of the biggest takeaways here is that precursor shocks that are definitely going to the silencer still result in a relatively conserved impulse on the 16.3-inch barrel guns. But timing is a little different. So not 100% sure if muzzle suppression is going to be identical in both the hosts. However, barrel blast is very similar. Not exactly the same, but similar. So I need you to understand. So this is an important conclusion, or let me rephrase that. It's an important observation, but it's an observation with caveats that timing can be different and there could be other weapon system signature components influencing measurements, especially suppressed when we get down lower amplitude blast pressures, okay, than unsuppressed. So when you're going orders of magnitude lower in blast pressures, which is what you do when you suppress a small arm weapon system, other weapon system signature components become pertinent to risk metrics. You feel me? Cool. So moving on, in the article, there's a bunch of words you can read. You should read it if you want. And if you don't, just have ChatGPT summarize it for you, something. I don't care, whatever. It's on the internet, dude. However you want to digest the information and learn, whether you listen to my words or you read it, I don't care as long as you learn it. Just remember, if you have an AI summarize our stuff that we've written for you to learn, you better double check that it's giving you the right answer because it can make mistakes. And we try not to make mistakes. And that's why if you ever hear someone say, well, Pew Science said, if you think it sounds weird that we said that, go look, and if it's not on the website, it's not real. You feel me? Yeah. Be careful because we see people put words in our mouth all the time. That's not real. That's why it's all written down. You can't fake it. It's like written down on our domain. If it's not on pewscience.com, email us. Okay. We try to list everything about the different AK performance factors in the article. We wanted factory guns, we wanted imported rifles, and we wanted to mirror what the market wanted. I think probably we hit the mark, and we haven't received any contrary views about that yet. We actually have not received one contrary opinion from any person, any real non-bot person, that we picked the wrong guns. Now, I'm not saying we won't, and I'm not saying we're perfect because we're not, but if you have feedback, email us at TECH, that's tech, TECH at pewscience.com. Would love to discuss your thoughts. Okay. So I think what we're going to do now, and I know like there's more details in the article, but let me just tell you like a little high level here about these host guys, without like beating this to death. They're stock guns, and they have fixed stocks on the full size rifles. The short rifle didn't come with a stock. I bought a stock that I thought was going to be good for testing. It is a foldable steel stock, super solid, does not have any, doesn't wobble at all. I put the type of stock and model it was in the report. If you want to find out the exact length and duplicate this, you can do that. There is nothing presented on pewscience.com that cannot be duplicated. You have all of the information necessary to create a carbon copy of this data in your own experimental arena. So that is what that article is for. It is to make sure that anyone that wants to duplicate this research with the apparatus can do so. Every apparatus component that you need to duplicate this research is provided for you publicly, and that has been since 2020. If I sound aggressive, it's because I'm aggressive. Okay, cool. So now, what we're going to do, we're going to get into some different sources of noise from the AK platform in the next topic. So we're going to talk about the first published AK testing with the dead air Wolverine at a time of 26 minutes and 20 seconds. Okay, one moment, please. Okay, great. So topic 2, sound signature review 6.201, that's 6201, the dead air Wolverine on every AK. How does this U.S. tribute to the venerable Soviet PBS silencer system perform? How does the action noise manifest? How much does it matter? Can the Wolverine suppress your AK rifle to levels of a modern suppressed AR-15? That is the question that you should be asking yourself as an AK user. Okay? So this is a technical discussion of the white paper that was published last week with 3 tests in it. We took the Wolverine and we put it on 3 rifles that we just spoke about. Okay, two 16.3-inch barrel rifles, 1 Bulgarian, 1 Yugoslavian, and 1 Bulgarian 12.6-inch barrel rifle. Same silencer, factory mounts, combustion physics analyzed, human risk determined. Okay, I'm going to split this talk into 4 sections: the intro that we're in right now, the physical overview, the silencer design, and the system performance. As we have been doing the past few times when we can. I don't know how long each one's going to be. We're going to find out. That's part of the fun. Okay, now with the Wolverine, and I have it right here on my desk, it's an interesting silencer. It's a heavy silencer. We'll talk about that. It's okay. It should be heavy. We found it appropriate to start with the Wolverine. Like we discussed last episode, this silencer has been in consumer hands for several years, more than 5. When someone is recommending an AK silencer, it is often in the conversation. The Wolverine is in the conversation from dealers, and there have certainly been gun magazine reviews written about it that we have read. And frankly, we thought this was a great report to get back to the essence of Pew Science. Sometimes you got to get back to your roots, and the essence of Pew Science has always been figure out the truth about silencer signature suppression. That's our mission. We don't need rumor, we don't need speculation, we don't like to dig into the he said, she said stuff. We don't like to dig into the dealer, the manufacturer, the distributor sales stuff. No. It's not what we started doing. It's not what we ever do. We deal in raw, pure raw, high fidelity data and engineering analysis of data. What do the measured signatures tell you? Okay, that is how this effort started, and that's what this report is. That is what Report 201 is, and that's what every report is. But I wanted to emphasize it in case you forgot, if you're new, or you forgot. You know what I mean? So we took 3 AK rifles. We bought the mounts for the silencer, and we did the testing. The 3 AK rifles we picked were done independently of the Wolverine. We actually picked these rifles before the Wolverine was even in the conversation. And for the record, these are the only 3 AK rifles we have in lab inventory. And so these are the AK rifles that will be used in future 7.6239 evaluations as appropriate. We didn't need to publish all 3 tests in this report, but we did. And we did that for a few reasons. There is a method to the madness. This isn't random. Okay. The reasons why we published what we published, the first reason is, it's the first AK test report, suppressed test report. We just talked about the first AK test report, which is 6200, which is the public research supplement. This is the first suppressed AK test report. We wanted to make sure you were paying attention. So we think, we'll just do all 3. That'll make sure you know we're serious. Second reason, AK folks, just like most gun folks, have rumored favorites and biases about certain gun variants in their favorite gun types. And we didn't want the Bulgarian guys to be able to throw shade at the Yugo guys and vice versa. We wanted both to be showcased in the same way and see what's what. Something for everyone, in other words. We wanted to be very equal opportunity. Okay. Third reason, we needed to vary barrel length and dwell time. That's important because it's a brand new system for you. We needed to prove to you that the principles we have proven to you on the direct impingement 5.56 AR-15 with the Mark 18 and the M4 also carry over to long-stroked piston in the AK platform. Barrel length matters, and so does dwell time. And when I say those parameters matter, I mean they matter for bystander and operator risk. Full stop. Okay? So I needed to prove a point to you there. Finally, the last reason, probably not the last reason, but another reason we did this, the way we did it, why we picked the Wolverine and all 3 rifles is because the dead air Wolverine is recommended by so many dealers and distributors in dead air for all these rifles, all these systems. It is very important to show performance across the spectrum of systems, and we didn't know how the Wolverine was going to perform. How the heck are we going to know before we test it? We don't know. I didn't have a Wolverine, so how was I going to know? You know, some of you probably already knew. I didn't know. So if we had only tested the Wolverine on one gun and it did really well, whatever that means, well, there would be a question. Well, the barrel length was too long, yada yada, or if it did really bad, there would be a question. Well, barrel length was too short, yada yada yada, right? Or pick any number of 100 different arguments that you could have that I'm sure people have all the time about what we do. All these opinions, which is important. It's important to share your opinions. But, like I said before, no one has really complained to us yet about the choice of test hosts with this AK thing. I told you earlier in the talk, today. It's probably because AK guys are not as insanely rabid in the silencer world yet. And also because, only the Wolverine's published so far. So it's kind of like the calm before the storm, maybe. At least one of those things is going to change. If both change, buckle up, right? 1 second. It's funny to think about. That's all for the intro. Let's move into physical overview of the silencer. 33 minutes. Oh, I messed that up. At 34 minutes and 8 seconds. It's like a radio DJ or something hitting the post. Physical overview, yeah. So the Wolverine, in general, the Wolverine is a heavy steel modern homage to the Soviet PBS silencer system. That is how I would describe it. If you get a chance, please Google some cutaway images of the internals of the old PBS silencers. Very primitive. But you know what? They're still silencers. They are. Don't don't make a mistake in your, I don't know what it would be. Don't be too proud. At its core, a silencer has to slow the expansion of combustion gases to atmosphere. Yes, it has to give them a time to cool a little bit and spread out energy transfer over time. This reduces signature severity. That is a gross look at basic silencer operation. And the Soviets clearly understood this. And with typical Soviet brute force engineering, they created a simple baffle system. I bet it's loud, but I'm not 100% sure what the original PBS 1 and 2 sounded like, because we never tested an original PBS system yet, but I think we probably will. I know of two sources of them that we'll probably acquire and test them, just because I want to do that, along with the Maxim stuff. So what Dead Air did was they took the PBS concept and they were like, hold my beer, bro. And I think what Dead Air did, I think I kind of know what Mike did, what Mike wanted to do. And I think he was probably like, not to put words in his mouth, but I think he was probably like, I think we can make this be pretty cool. And I think we can help people who shoot AKs. And they did a few things. They made it look similar, with cool knurling to the PBS, and they made it have a really generously overbore geometry with a bore that I believe is also pretty tapered to overbore, meaning it does get wider than typical as you get down the stack to the distal end. And many silencers actually have tapered bores, but I think this one is actually bigger tapered bore. And they came up with a very interesting mounting system that theoretically will not allow the system to unscrew if it's indexed to the detent pin on the front sight post of the gun. If you're familiar with AKs, which I'm not encouraging you to be, because I'm not an AK person, but if you want to, knock yourself out. Now, results are going to vary on that with regard to how well that works. It depends on the type of mount you're using. When you're using a Dead Air mount insert in the Wolverine, it's installed into the silencer. It threads in to the back, and there's a collar system that's actually threaded to the body of the silencer. It's not intuitive at first, but if you look at the manual, you're going to be able to figure it out pretty quickly. There's a wave spring and a retention. It's like a wave spring and retention setup used to assemble the collar system and the mount insert. And there's a threaded part of the collar that secures it all in place. One thing you got to be careful of, when you install the mount insert into the silencer, you got to really tighten it in there before you put everything back together, because it might loosen at that interface later. Ask me how I know. It's not foolproof. It's cool what they did, but there's some, like, if you got to follow the instructions. If you don't follow the instructions, you're going to have a bad time, I promise. I would not say it's idiot proof. It's definitely not idiot proof. You have to actually really think about what you're doing. The end cap of the silencer is actually removable. It's kind of like, I think it might be compatible to Sandman. It's cool to be able to remove the end cap if you get an end cap strike, so you can replace that end cap. And guess what? You might get an end cap strike because AKs are notoriously threaded poorly from the manufacturers. Okay? In fact, with our test hosts, which we got brand new, we had to send one of them back to Arsenal. The 12.6-inch gun, it did not pass the alignment rod test in the lab, but the other Arsenal and the Zastava were both fine. The full-size guns were both fine. Interesting. Arsenal actually they ended up just replacing our 12.6-inch gun completely. No questions asked. Now, is that the same service you're going to get as a consumer? I have no idea. But I wouldn't be surprised if your service was different than what we got. Arsenal knows the Pew Science Lab. We bought the rifles at a discount through a mutual industry connection. So your mileage is going to vary. We did get them shipped directly from Arsenal, but anyway, this is all the detail I'm going to give you, but I'm giving you as much detail as I can. We purchased them, but yeah, we got a discount because they knew who we were and they knew what we're going to do with them and whatever. They're like, yeah, for the love of the game. And I was like, for the love of the game. So here we are, right? So what you need to know, if you're suppressing an AK, and any AK silencer enthusiast can tell you this, is that just threading a silencer onto an AK is an adventure, and it's not going to be like putting one on your AR-15, okay? It's just not. These barrels are they're gonna muzzle index. First of all, they're not shoulder index. There's no shoulder on this damn thing. You're gonna muzzle index. Okay, think SR25, think SCAR, think 13.5 by 1 millimeter left-hand pistol. Feel me? Muzzle index. I'm gonna say that muzzle index. Okay, it indexes on the face of the muzzle, not the shoulder of the barrel. Feel me? So what does that mean? Well, it means that you could not only have concentricity issues with the bore and barrel threads, which is a fear, but you could also have an issue where the muzzle face is not perpendicular to the bore, homie. And then when you try to muzzle index, that's going to put you out of concentricity on the bore line instead. Oh no. SpaghettiOs. Yeah, bro. Now there are ways to fix that. If you got that one, if your threads are concentric to the bore, but it's just that your bore face is the issue, there are ways to fix that yourself, like expediently. But I would, if it were me, bro, I would not do that. I would strongly and highly recommend either having the manufacturer or a very qualified gunsmith fix it. Don't bubba this, dude. You're gonna have a bad time. Don't bubba your gun. Just have it fixed. If you have a question about this, email us. Okay, tech@pewscience.com. Now, I tried to give in this article in 6201, I try to give a good description of the mount system in the opening paragraph of the report. Note there is also a hub mount insert available. Okay, if you're into that for an AK, whatever, dude. The silencer, it's around 7.5 inches long. It looks like a PBS. It's kind of cool looking. Has knurling on it. When you have a mount insert installed, it is about 1.5 pounds. It's like 24 ounces, dude, in total. But, so you might think that's bad. But you can also wail on it with full auto short barrel AK. So that is what it is, right? This is not, okay, what is the Wolverine not? It is not a lightweight backpacking silencer. What is it? It is an AK silencer for war, essentially. Or mostly mag dumping into trash, but also war. Tomato, tomato. Like, call it what you will. You know what I mean? The AK guys are weird. I understand. We all have our stuff. We all have our things, dude. We're all friends here. Like, just because I said AK guys are weird doesn't mean that, like, AR guys are weird. Hell, I'm a SIG MCX guy. I'm one of the weirdest when it comes to 300 blackout, right? Like, I'm a lunatic, dude. I get it. Like, we all have our stuff, dude. We all have our proclivities. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, like, you are weird. AK guys are bizarre because your guns are weird. It's not your fault. That's okay. Embrace it. Let's talk about the silencer design in time of 42 minutes and 53 seconds. Like, seriously, AK guys, don't get mad at me for telling you you're weird because you are. It's okay. It takes one to know one. You know, we're all weirdos, really. Silencer design, the internal design of the Wolverine. It's somewhat like a Sandman. If you want to learn how the Sandman works, Google Sandman on our site in the search box and like read all the Sandman reports or something and listen to the podcast. It's kind of like a Sandman, but it's really overboard. Big and has a big first expansion chamber in order to, I bet you what they did is made that big empirically by they thought what they were doing was lowering back pressure when they were in some ways lowering alpha. Big first expansion chamber, big baffle mouths, cast stellite baffles, which have great erosion resistance under high temperature. Famous examples of that have been in Rugged and Dead Air and Silencer Co. silencers. Those are the three companies that really pushed those. Before all the newfangled Form 1 guys got popular, and everyone talks about them now on social media, like Otter Creek and all them. So these baffles are simple, nested, curved, and stepped cones, as was Dead Air tradition for quite a long time. So in the technical performance realm, you're not getting stagnation relief. You have relatively high back pressure despite overbore. Performance isn't super high, okay, in the Dead Air Wolverine. I'm going to be frank with you. The signature suppression performance, at least. Now, durability? Well, durability performance might be pretty high. And that might be really important to you. And when you combine the durability with the looks and the AK friendly features of the design, you could stop listening to the podcast right now if you want. If you don't care about human risk or signature reduction, maybe you just go on your way and you go enjoy your dang system, man. Comparison can be the thief of joy. After all, no. I'm kidding. Because in all seriousness, let's talk about the performance, because that's the whole dang point here. So if you haven't already, please pull up the report. That's 6201. You can follow along just fine with the free version if you're not a member. But if you are a member, especially with this one, I encourage you, if you're a member, please pull up the member version. Okay, one moment. Okay, now that you've pulled that up, we're going to move into the system performance discussion at a time of 45 minutes and 45 seconds. What a great omen. Oh, wow. So, system performance. At the top of the article, you're going to see 3 rating graphics. At the top of the page. Weird, right? You can see 1, you scroll a little bit down, you're going to see 2 more. I know that's a bit unorthodox and it can seem overwhelming. We do this sometimes when single reports have multiple system evaluations in them. If it is just one silencer in multiple configurations on one host weapon, we usually do 1 graphic. But when you change hosts, as it were, when you change hosts, it's literally a different system in a gross sense. So here we are. Right, you can't capture that in 1 graphic in the way we're doing that in the suppression rating seal graphic. So you have a graphic at the top for the Wolverine on the full-size Arsenal Bulgarian system. Okay, and then you have the next one would be the full-size Zastava Serbian or Yugoslavian system. And then finally you have a graphic for the short barrel Arsenal Bulgarian system. So 2 Bulgarians, 1 Yugoslavian. Barrel length variation, you have 3 graphics. So the way I would like to go through this is to use the highest composite rating system as an example, and then fill in the technological gaps as we progress so that you can get a full feel for how the silencer works. And I do realize this report is just as much about the rifles as it is about the silencer for many people, but we're really focused on the silencer. And I think if I explain how the silencer works in context, you're going to learn a lot about the weapons too. Okay, so here, let's do that. So let's start at the top. Bottom line up front, 23.1 suppression rating, 1 meter left of the end cap, 1.6 meters above the ground in the free field. 10.6 suppression rating, 6 inches right of the shooter's right ear. That brings us to a composite suppression rating of 23.5 with the dead air Wolverine mounted to the Arsenal SAM7R 16.3-inch Bulgarian pattern milled receiver AK pattern rifle with Hornady American Gunner 123 grain ammunition. 7.62 by 39, if that wasn't clear. Oh, just so we're clear, just really quick, just so you know, 7.62 by 39 millimeter is an intermediate rifle cartridge. So that's equivalent to a 5.56 type cartridge. It's not like a pistol cartridge, and it's not like a full-size rifle cartridge like 308. It's in the middle. It's intermediate. So when you talk about 5.56 combustion and stuff, that general combustion regime, 7.62 by 39 is also in that general combustion regime. You feel me? Different diameter, different case length, different type of bullet, but intermediate rifle cartridge. Supersonic 300 Blackout is another example. Intermediate rifle cartridge. 5.56, Supersonic 300 Blackout. 7.62 by 39, intermediate rifle cartridges. Okay? One moment. So, just to repeat, 23.1 at the muzzle, 10.6 at the ear. Okay. Full-size AK. Full-size rifle. Okay. 16.3 inch. Wolverine. So right up front, what do you know? What did I just tell you? All the precursor flow and the main muzzle blast you saw in the research supplement we talked about earlier, that all went into the silencer. And then what came out of the silencer? Loud came out of the silencer. Did it only come out of the silencer? No, it came out of the gun too in different ways. We're going to talk about it. But big picture, 10,000 foot view, suppression rating metrics are here to help you. And right away, what does this tell you? What does 23.1 at the muzzle and 10.6 at the ear tell you? It tells you that this is an extremely hazardous system and wearing hearing protection is a very good idea. And you need to respect the hazard. Now, will you go deaf if you shoot it a couple times without ears? Well, probably not. I don't know. Probably not. But could it hurt you permanently? Oh, yeah, it could, bro. So, yeah, this is a very low suppression rating for the operator, and that's in the free field, guys. If you are near reflecting surfaces, this is going to drop further, and you could be in danger. Danger. More danger. So please understand, these are risk metrics. If you are new to Pew Science, glad to have you. Awesome. This is not super happy, fun pretend time where we pull ratings out of a hat. Like, don't think that's the case. It's not, dude. Like, these are calculations. These are metrics intended to give you a ballpark of human risk. So please remember that. That's why we color coded the rankings table in section 7 of the standard, because people started to forget what the heck the numbers meant. I'm like, well, let's color code it. And then people are like, oh, yeah, I know, dude. Who else is doing that? Nobody. Ask them what their numbers mean. I don't know. Okay, so that's the big picture for one gun. What I want to do now, before we talk about the detailed blast physics, is follow the article progression. I want to skip the other two rating graphics for now. I want you to stick with me, okay? Scroll down to the summary plot in figure 1, please. This is a bar chart. I put it up front. Okay, cool. This shows 5 sets of bars, and there are 2 bars in each set, so there's a total of 10 bars. Okay, the blue cross-hatched bars are risk to the operator. The red diagonal hatched bars are risk to a bystander adjacent to the weapon system, specifically 1 meter left of the end cap. Okay. At the top of the chart, you have unsuppressed full size and unsuppressed short barrel hazard. The ratings are low. At the muzzle, it's like 7 to 8, and the ear is like 4 to 5 or so. Okay, low. It's low. It actually doesn't matter how low they are right there, because they're single digits. That should immediately signify danger to you. The suppression rating scale was designed to show danger and risk. So once it gets really low in red in the color coding of the chart, suppression rating charts, like in the rankings and the suppression rating key code, the color coding chart, once it gets really low, it means stop, danger, red, danger. Okay, it's meant to be easy to digest for you to use. Data utility. This isn't marketing. I'm trying to protect you. God, help me help you. Okay. But nonetheless, despite the danger that this is clearly showing, there is kind of a really interesting phenomenon here that you're seeing. It's kind of a clue to the AK system and the gas-operated piston system of the AK. Remember, the AK is in fact a gas-operated rifle. You do not need direct impingement or a gas tube to be gas-operated. Obviously, piston systems are in fact still gas-operated, and when you are gas-operated and use a gas port, and you have a distance between that port and the muzzle, the barrel muzzle, the distance between the port and the barrel muzzle, that is called dwell distance. And the time it takes for the bullet to travel between those 2 points in the barrel is called dwell time. And the dwell time difference between the long barrel AK and the short barrel AK is enough such that the gas impulse to the piston changes enough such that the breech blast loads from the piston system change, and the short barrel might have more muzzle blast impacting the shooter, but the breech blast from the longer barrel is more severe, and it actually overtakes the differential. And that's one of the reasons why the blue line or the blue bar for the short barrel is higher than the blue bar for the long barrel, and that's pretty wild. It's subtle on this system, but measurable. I don't know that happened with the 5.56 system, because I think the barrel hazard overtook it. with the 10.3 versus the 14.5. But in this case, actually, I think the 12.6 with the 12.6 and the 16.3, I think the 12.6 inch barrel was long enough with this type of cartridge that it didn't overtake it. So the dwell time difference was more apparent. It was pretty wild, right? Subtle. Again, subtle, but measurable. And it's real. So does that blow your mind? It might be. But wait, there's even more. There's more. Now what I wanted you to do, now look at the 3 sets of bars with the red text, the suppressed bars. This is the Wolverine on the 3 guns in the bar chart, right? Now, ladies and gentlemen, what trend do you see here? What trend? What trend do you see? Well, it's a conventional silencer at the end of the day. We talked about the why. The baffles are what they are. And what do? You see performance scaling with barrel length. Lower blast load input severity from the longer barrel, as characterized in the public research supplement. It's lower severity. It's elevating the muzzle suppression rating on the full-size AKs above that of the short barrel AK. That should make sense to most people. The red bars getting longer from the lower severity input, that should make sense to most people. That should bring you some comfort. That shows some linearity to the physics, or at least proportion. That shows some, that's a bad word. That shows some appropriate proportionality to the physics. All is right in the world, and you can go away knowing you can count on that to happen with a Wolverine silencer. Okay, cool. That is as expected. Now, what may be unexpected to some of you, but expected to some of you that have been really following along with the AR research, is that when you have a conventional silencer and you actually do run the risk of weapon system parameters really making a big difference. Now, look how the shooter zero rating drops when you go from short barrel to long barrel. Now, does that sound counterintuitive? This is precisely the phenomenon that you saw unsuppressed on at the top of the chart, just carried over to suppressed. And boy, howdy, this conclusion seems pretty definitive, at least to me. And that conclusion is, I'm going to say it, you got to get that dang AK gas system in check. And I'm making that judgment call without other tests. I'm just showing you that this is a gas system driven phenomenon because of breech blast. It clearly has to be. What else? If we trust our measure data, which we do, and if we trust our calculations, which we do implicitly because we check and double check and triple check our calculations, yes, seems like a definitive conclusion that you need to get the gas system, the AK, in check. Maybe adjust that piston system if you're suppressing it, homie. At least if you're using a normal conventional technology silencer, just slow your roll right now. But at least if you're using a normal conventional silencer, technology silencer, which is what the Wolverine is, to be clear. And maybe, could tuning an AK help even with an advanced silencer? Oh, probably. And we're going to have to figure that out later, and we will. Baby steps, though. You got to walk before you can run. Remember, this is our first AK project. Okay, so I know you're hungry for that, but okay. So those are broad strokes. Every shooter's ear suppression rating on that chart should scare you. Every blue bar should scare you on that chart. I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm saying this should scare you. I'm not trying to do it. I'm just telling you this should. And every muzzle rating, every red bar on that chart should tell you that using the Wolverine on your gun is not going to hide you that well, so buckle up. It will hide your position as you shoot, because all silencers mask position with supersonic rounds for sure. Make no mistake, though, someone, and likely many people, are, in fact, going to know you're shooting, homie. And it's not from the bullet Mach-Wave. No, the muzzle blast, dude. That's real. Okay, so we're going to take a detailed look at that now. Scroll down to Figure 2. Figure 2, you don't have to go that far. Now, one moment. Hold on. Okay, Figure 2. You are looking at, in Figure 2, as is tradition, well, let me just say, and I want to be careful how I say this, but I think I need to say it. These are signatures no one has ever shown publicly before in the history of small arms. I do believe that to be a true statement. These are full-time regime free field blast pressure histories from a suppressed AK pattern rifle. That's cool, right? Never been done before, as the kids say. No, it's true. It hasn't ever, but at least publicly. No, I've never seen it. Search the literature. I've never. I'm proud of this one, dude. That's cool. It's cool to do things for the first time ever, I think. You do it with your help, so you kind of did it too, which is really cool. If you're listening to this podcast, you basically did this. Isn't that cool? I think it is. So what you do when you look at figure 2A, I know, well, stop the circle jerk here. In figure 2A, you see the extreme pressure spikes early. And actually, what's really very interesting, you actually see the rear stroke mechanical impact after blowdown. Then in very late time, you see the carrier return to battery. It's very loud, actually. And doesn't look loud in figure 2A, does it? Because of the scale of the plot, that might be misleading you. Let me assure you, an AK action is not quiet, especially to the shooter. Recall, these signatures you are looking at in figure 2 are measured 1 meter left of the end cap of the silencer. And that's still that's happening. Zoom in early time, figure 2B. This is where you see rush of pressure very expediently from the Wolverine. It does have some characteristics of a moderate to low megametric. We'll let you know that. There's a lot of momentum dump early, and that is characterized in another way in impulse space in figure 3. That's actually important for you to look at. If you kind of squint your eyes a bit, figure 3A kind of shows some pretty decent post-FRP consistency now, but if you zoom in, like in figure 3B, you're going to see a bit of jetting anomalies happening. And you know what? We're kind of past the point in the research where that really interests us a ton. And why is that? Because you would actually expect this type of behavior based on the baffle type and bore size of the silencer. We actually already understand the Wolverine before we tested it. If you were to look at the inside of the Wolverine, you, as a Pew Science reader, you would already understand the Wolverine. If you saw the inside of it, you'd be like, oh, I don't have high hopes for this performance-wise. With regard to signature suppression, I mean, that by inspection almost, but we got to test it. It's okay. You got to prove it. That's okay. Based on the baffle type, based on the bore size of the silencer, there's nothing. I would say it like this: there isn't really anything spectacularly striking in the signatures. There's nothing that screams surprise with regard to silencer behavior here. There are some secondary accumulation things actually that are technically interesting that are happening that we do have some thoughts about, but I made the decision that I think we need more research before we can definitively talk about some of that. So we're going to wait on some of that. I think also I will say this is one of those stages in the research where you're going to see some evolution as we publish more technologies on the AK platform. I think the performance comparisons we show are going to have parallels to other areas of the standard, and we have a really good start with the AR-15 research already that we've done and published. So the AK platform is going to get a lot of good, good conclusions. I think early in its life in the pedigree. I think the AK platform is starting, it's almost like it's a child born later, and it has the benefit of like the parents already like raising the other kids and knowing what to do. What a weird analogy. That is like off the cuff. That kind of sounds weird. These are not my children. We love all our children. You probably won't have to wait too long too, which is cool, to get more AK data, just FYI. But I'm just saying, like, I think that doing AK data earlier, I think it would have been weird. And I know some people make some jokes. They're like, oh my God, they said they're going to do AK data and it took them this long. They must have thought about doing this like a decade ago. It's like, well, I mean, in reality, yeah, Pew Science was actually an idea now that it's 6 years in. It was probably 16 years ago when I first had the idea to start this. But anyway, yeah, no, I know that's funny to joke about how long it takes us to do stuff, but I got a kick out of that. That's funny to me. But I think that if we would have done AKs earlier, you wouldn't have gotten nearly what you're going to get out of them now. So all good things come to those who wait. And speaking of the fact that we don't have more AK data published yet, we actually did include comparison points for the Wolverine on these AKs with other types of systems in the standard, so that you could at least know what you're dealing with a full-size AK with a Wolverine at the muzzle. Like, because you want to know, like, what is a bystander going to be subjected to with this thing, like, as related to what you've already seen in the standard and related to other things you might know about or have heard about, or, maybe you've been around. Maybe what have you been around lately being shot? Like, maybe you have context. And I think that's a great thing to think about. And it really highlights the actual data utility and the meaningful conclusions you can draw using the suppression rating. There are 4 silencers listed there. Actually, if you scroll down in research note 2, there are 4 silencers listed there on a couple different weapons. These are cross-platform comparisons you can do with the suppression rating at home. Okay, you can do this. Let's go through them. Griffin, Knight's Armament, Surefire, and Thunder Beast. Griffin Armament Explorer. I'm joking because it's spelled Explorer with it's EXPLORR. That's how they spelled it. That is a real name of a product, dude. Griffin Armament Explorer EX3 on a 20-inch 308 bolt action. That was report 36. Then you have the Knight's Armament QDC CRS PRT ABCDEFG on whatever amount you want on a Mark 18. That's in report 156. Then you got the Surefire SOCOM 762 RC2 with a war comp on a bolt action rifle. That's report 26, really going back there. Then you have the Thunder Beast Dominus SR on the Mark 18. That's a report 105. Each of those 4 freaking platforms, silencers and hosts combined in the test reports, have similar bystander risk to a AK on to a Wolverine on a full-size AK. So if you have a Wolverine, you now know how loud those other silencers are. And if you have any of those silencers, you now know how loud a Wolverine is. Cool, right? Use the rankings table. That's the power you have. That's all free, dude. That's all free. That's all free for anyone in the world 24/7. That's absolute power at your fingertips 24/7 at pewscience.com. Feels good, right? You too have the power to literally know exactly how risky the systems are now. You have hundreds of data points to inform risk. Dude, that's free. That's invaluable information. That's gold for you. You can't find it anywhere else. Isn't that crazy? Sometimes I just sit back and look at this. Like, oh my God, the power you have. Can you understand the power you have with that type of information? That's insane. I just told you that some bolt action rifles and 5.56 ARs, I just compared their risk to an AK, suppressed AK, with actual data analysis. That's free to all of you. All right. If I sound excited and extreme, it's because I am. 1 second. It's serious as a heart attack, dude. Now, this is the part of the talk where I talk to members and the public can't follow along because they aren't logged in. That's okay, dude. I'll make it brief. Members, please, I implore you, please look at the shooter's ear waveforms. Look at in the full version of the report. Please look at if you look at any of these, I want you to look at figure 4B at a minimum. You see how many things are going on in figure 4B that are labeled? I want you to know that everything in that pressure history matters to your ears as the operator, and your face and everything. Every orifice that pressure can infiltrate in. I want you to know that everything in that pressure history matters to your ears. And that's in the free field, standing up. That's you standing in the middle of a field away from all reflecting surface other than the ground you're standing on. And that's all the stuff that suppressed AK is throwing at you. Now, I want to ask you a question. I'm being serious. What in that figure gives you any rational idea that you could compare the sound of a suppressed AK to the sound of a suppressed bolt gun or Mark 18 with only peak dB or average dB, what LEQ, whatever? What makes you think that? Let me answer the question for you, because it was a rhetorical question. I'm being sarcastic a little bit. Nothing, dude. There is nothing there that should give you that idea rationally, because it's an irrational thought. It is irrational for you to think that. So keep that in mind, dude. You cannot pick a peak value in that and then compare it to a Mark 18. You can't do it. Different weapon systems are different. We created the suppression rating to help you map the differences to a common key. Go back to the discussion earlier in the podcast in topic 1 where I talked about the wave shape of the unsuppressed muzzle blast waveforms and why you can compare some of that. The suppression rating is your Rosetta Stone for risk. Use it. If you are not a member and you can't see the member data, that's okay. You're in luck. The suppression rating at the muzzle and ear are free and public, all in the rankings table and in the rating graphics in the report body, always for over 5 years. It's never changed. Go have fun. The AK wants to hurt you, especially with the Wolverine, but we're not going to let it hurt you. You know why? Because now you're educated and you're always going to wear hearing protection when you shoot it because you saw the suppression ratings. You're educated. You're safe. You're safe. We saved you. I'm serious, dude. Now, there are super niche nerd differences between the test that we just went over and the full-size Yugoslavian host, the Zastava Serbian rifle. And we're not going to go into that right now in the interest of time because we're already past an hour in timestamp right now. And maybe we go deep later, but I feel like we've given AK lovers enough for now. So what like just in this article, so I think what you need to know is that basically for most silencers, Bulgarian and Yugo systems, if equivalent and the same size, are going to give you similar risk. I think that's the important part. Now, we're going to talk about short barrel stuff. Let's do that. Because those are the AKs that you lunatics are probably going to use the mag dump in the trash like I would do. So scroll down past the Zastava rifle results, and we can go through it later, dude. Just not right now, okay? I'm going to pass the Zastava stuff. If you're still up there, and then go to section 6.201.4. This is the 12.6 inch barrel Bulgarian AK pattern rifle results. You're going to look at figure 10. Start at figure 10. Okay, one moment. Sorry, I was in meetings all day and stuff, and I keep having to drink water. My voice is going. Figure 10, same story. Now, remember, we shortened the barrel from 16.3 inches to 12.6 inches. SpaghettiOs. But same story. Blast overpressure in the free field. Do you notice anything different from the previous data? Well, bigger, faster, scarier. Yeah, basically, really. More pressure, faster. I mean, and the wild thing for you blast physicist nerds, and this is cool. Oh, I get so tickled about this. The really cool thing is the shape function change from FRP to post FRP in the pressure space. And this is super deep and weird, but I know some of you folks out there are listening, maybe at the Boston Dynamics Lab or at Sandia National Lab. I know you guys are out there, so shout out. Oh, by the way, Sandia guys, I heard the course went really well a couple of weeks ago. I'm so glad you liked it. That means so much. That is so awesome. Now, guys, look in figure 10B. Look at the black curve and the blue curve in figure 10B. See the FRP multiple jet coupled shock, and then you see the wild centrally peaked shock I meant to say the wild centrally peaked shot in shot 2 in the first wave. In the gross shot 2 peak, like if you don't like get too hung up on the multiple coupled jets on the rise of the wave front, look at like the main, like squint your eyes a little bit, look at the main centrally peaked, like almost isosceles type triangle of the blue curve at a time of approximately like 30.1 milliseconds. Look at that. Brother. If that's not textbook energy release rate differential highlighting severe FRP, I don't know what is. And it is so cool because the really cool part here about that is we know it's not the ammo. Like we use Hornady ammo, very consistent. It's so awesome. And look, not to pick on the Wolverine here, but that's really bad FRP. And the performance deficiency it is highlighting physics that I think the entire world can learn for free. That is first wave-shaped physics demonstrated from a small arm silencer with perfect rise time differential. And you have all the test parameters to duplicate this research condition for yourself. How badass is that, dude? Like, just like marvel. Like, seriously, like for all you physicists in the audience, for all you guys that work at the labs, for all you combustion nerds, like figure 10b in the context of this is the 201st article in everything we've been talking about is an example of the absolute incredible research that has been conducted with public help for the entire world that's now available forever, etched in stone, dude. Isn't that crazy? All right, I'm done. Now back to the talk for normal people, but I wanted to like tell everybody about how incredible that is and how you guys made that happen. Isn't that just you? I think people are going to look back on this and they're going to be, you know what I think? I think in the future, in the far future, people are going to look back on this and they're going to be like, look how much people cooperated to make something like this happen. And it all happened because everyone wanted the same goal. And look at the fruits they created. Because maybe in the future, like people won't be as kind or something. And then and benevolent, the way, I don't know, when you look at the way political discourse is in this country, you know, you look at maybe you think, sometimes I think to myself, I like to think at a basic level everyone's good, but at the same time I think, well, maybe we're like devolving into some like benevolence is going to be gone or something. I hope that's not true, but like, I just think that this is an example of what humans cooperating can do. And it's like really important for education. So all in all, well, no, I'm not done. Let's keep going. Shooter's ear stuff for members really quick. Okay, it's really good for the short barrel. This is important. The really cool part here for members, I'm sorry if you can't see it, but you should join Pew Science. It's cheap. The really cool part for you members is you get to see the dwell time difference and the phase and duration differences. The stuff that's driving your risk, you get to see it decrease with the shorter dwell time. The slightly elevated suppression rating at the shooter's ear despite the higher muzzle blast, that's so cool. Man, maybe we should tune in AK sooner than later. I just have a curiosity about the blast loads for that, because you might do it for science. You know what I mean? Because I just want to know. You know what I would do if I had to do it? I'd go tune the Zastava or something, because it's prettier because it has wood. To me, it's like not as like clinical in polymer, so the wood is like, it's more warm to me. It looks like a more inviting weapon. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know. I like Yugoslavia too. I think it's a cool place. That's okay. So now, but that's the gist of it, right? AKs are dangerous. So is the Wolverine. Go look at the bar chart. Like, if you keep scrolling down, you're going to get to the summary section, which has figure 14, which is a repeat of figure 1. We already talked about that in the summary. So another thing you can do, we already talked about comparisons of the muzzle for the comparisons at risk at the muzzle for full-size AK with the Wolverine. But if you also scroll down and right before you get to research note 13, there's in this summary section, there's also a comparison of hazard at the ear. And I'm going to tell you, on the full-size AK, at the ear, you are more hazardous than using a war comp with surefire silencers on 5.56. You're more hazardous than using the KAC QDC little short thing on 5.56. You're more silencer. You're more hazardous than actually any war comp use. RC2, 5.56 or 7.62, or RC3 with a war comp. You're more. Wolverine's more dangerous on an AK than that. And I will say, which is really crazy, if you look at the ranking section, the Wolverine on the AK is the most dangerous suppressed system for the operator that we have published in the pedigree. So let that sink in, dude. That's a really big deal. So now I'm ready to wrap this up, kind of. I will say that all in all, I'm going to say this for the record. When you go read a gun magazine article online from several years ago, when this silencer was being marketed, I want you to read it in the context of this real data. And then I want you to maybe consider who wrote the articles and what they are still saying about silencers to this day. I am just telling you facts. This is a dangerous system for humans, objectively. Please wear PPE. Okay? Now, signature suppression performance aside, dude, I love the way the Wolverine looks. If I was an AK guy, which I am most certainly not, I'm going to be frank with you, I actually do not like shooting AKs. I find them to be clunky, unrefined, and just not great. All that being said, but really, however, if I was an AK guy, I would find it very hard to resist the Wolverine. It has what the kids call vibes. And in a vibes-based silencer decision matrix, I think the Wolverine would end up very high on the list. I really do think that. And that's my opinion. I just want to go on record. I think I said that in writing somewhere. Quote me, dude. Okay, that's fine. I think the vibes are cool. Doesn't mean it's safe, but wear hearing protection, please. Don't shoot around people that don't have ears on. Don't hurt them. Don't hurt people, right? If you don't have to. So I know we've been giving you quite a lot of different data lately. Please expect that to continue. The testing we have been doing lately, I cannot wait to show you. I am so tickled with it. It's going to be so awesome. For multiple reasons. You're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly on systems that you've seen before and brand new systems. There's more new hosts coming. Oh yeah. So thank you for your patience. Really, I do appreciate it. Thank you for the patience while we publish things that are both for clients and for members. We are trying to hit as many things as we can while doing it at a pace that still respects the pedigree and the test specimens. That part's important. I think that going faster with less detail would not be in keeping with our mandate of education. And there's a lot of people who want us to go faster and do more, and we're not going to do that because that's not our mission. And we don't answer to anybody. Our philosophy is quality over quantity, and I think we've proved that out over 5 years of doing this, and we're going to hit 6 years in the first quarter of 2026. And we're not changing. Okay, so thank you for making this possible, and thank you for helping to make this the best dang silencer characterization effort in the history of mankind. And big thanks to Capital Armory for loaning this test specimen to us for the program. That was really awesome of them. And huge thanks to Pew Science members for funding this gigantic study. Thank you all for listening too. Okay, so there's going to be more data and analysis next week. You've earned it. Please stay safe, and I will talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.